Hi, welcome to TNT. Well, today is the opening, a traditional Chinese opening, for a new place called The George, here in Georgetown, Penang. So, good luck to The George and a little bit of local colour for the start of today's TNT. Hi everybody, thank you for joining us again in Penang. I'm here for probably another day. And look, very quickly, just 5 Star Marine, our sponsors. Somebody reminded me that I neglected to mention them yesterday. I think it was all because of that burning ferry that I was somewhat distracted from talking about my marine sponsor. But 5 Star Marine, if you're doing a private tour in Phuket, I'd like to recommend 5 Star Marine and also making up for it today by wearing one of their shirts. Now, I did visit immigration yesterday. By the way, I'm having a few microphone problems. My lapel mic that I brought with me was very faulty yesterday, and I apologise for that. So I'm using the actual sound on the computer. So you are going to get a little bit of additional background noise today, and I apologise for that. But just talking about immigration, there has been a discernible change to the attitude of visa of embassies and consulates outside Thailand for foreigners seeking visas. Now, there are a few reasons for this, and I'll go into that in just a moment. And I've done a full-length interview with a visa agent, which will launch on Sunday. Quite sort of freewheeling interview with a very well-known visa agent down here in Penang. But there's a few problems. The overarching one is that they're just checking everything. For example, you have to have for a B visa or a business visa, which I'm on, you usually have to provide photos with the signage of the company and also pictures from inside the office. Beyond that, they're checking those photos now, and they're wanting to phone somebody in the actual office. They never used to do this in the past, but they're now doing that. And also in Penang, for example, not some other consulates, but each consulate sort of got their own little variations on the way they work. But in Penang, they're only allowing 50 applications a day. Now, there's not much wriggle room with that, and yesterday I was waiting for 2 hours just to get inside the consulate. And when I did, I was number 49, and there were another 30 people behind me that were told, thanks for coming, you'll have to come back tomorrow. So these are all things that sort of make it a little bit more difficult to get visas than in the past. And probably you're more than welcome to get a visa by yourself, and you can. But using visa agents for anybody trying to get a visa as a foreigner from outside Thailand, it is going to be a lot easier if you've got a visa agent on your side. It probably won't cost that much, and it will certainly save you a lot of headaches, because you've got to have all your I's dotted and all your T's crossed these days. And it's been caused pretty much by one particular country. There's a lot of new applications coming in at the moment, and anecdotally there are reports that were given to me of a lot of fake documentation being used to get their visas over the line. So yeah, I think it's just something we all need to note as foreigners. If we are seeking visas overseas, that we do need to just do some extra checking and make sure that everything is okay before we apply for the visa, because if you apply for it and it's rejected, you can say goodbye to your money, and that's where a visa agent is certainly going to be well worth their value. And having said that, I do have this interview with a guy called Jim, and that's going to be on Sunday on TNT. One interesting thing here in Penang is that vaping is not only legal, it's, well, commercialised, and there's lots of these shops that have popped up around historical Penang promoting and selling vaping products. Interesting situation, of course, because compared to Thailand, we've got cannabis decriminalised, but vaping is still illegal. Just another one of these regional quirks as we travel around Asia. TNT coming to you today from Penang, and a little cafe called, well, not really a little cafe, a big cafe called Gravy Baby, and I can highly recommend the coffee and the breakfast. They've got, the menu is about that thick, so it's a good place to drop in, and their Wi-Fi is very fast. So just a bit of a follow-up to yesterday, and the Bangkok Post reporting that the cause of a pilgrim's death on a flight home is still unclear. The reportage of this I'm finding rather strange, and this is a person who was 71 years old and was flying back from doing the Hajj in Mecca, and this story says the cause of death of a man on a return flight from a pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia was still inconclusive, and further examination was needed. He was a 71-year-old Baham Seso, and 4 relatives. They left on a pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia November the 27th, and they were flying home on Saturday. The man suffered from asthma. He'd received 2 COVID vaccine shots but no booster. And here again, just like yesterday, there's this concentration on his COVID situation, where there's probably a million other things he could have died from. He certainly probably didn't die from COVID-19, although it was later found out that he did, in fact, he was COVID positive. He'd been vaccinated against flu and meningococcal disease. Story goes on December the 10th, before boarding Thai Airways, he suffered from exhaustion and was taken on board the aircraft in a wheelchair. So he was obviously getting on the aircraft not feeling particularly well. Crew members and a foreign nurse who was a passenger performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation and used an automated external defibrillator. To no avail. He had no vital signs. Since it was feared the man might have caught MERS, a nasal swab was taken. They also took an ATK test and confirmed, well, as accurate as an ATK test can be, that he was COVID-19 positive. Now, MERS was a particularly dangerous coronavirus. MERS, SARS, SARS-2, which is COVID-19, all coronaviruses, and MERS had a death rate of 35%. So it was certainly a coronavirus you didn't want to catch. And then more of this rather exaggerated reporting from the Bangkok Post, recommending people have 4 jabs against COVID-19 if they're aged or with a chronic illness, and those whose last vaccination was more than 4 to 6 months should immediately get a booster, blah, 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 blah. So a very interesting way of reporting this particular story from the Bangkok Post, not really going into any of the probable ways he died. It was probably just a heart attack, but they kept on going on and on about his COVID-19 status. And next story also from the Bangkok Post today, early House dissolution is likely, noting that, as I mentioned yesterday, we're already into this unofficial election campaign, and it looks like there's a lot of jockeying for position. Potential mass defections to the Bumjai Thai party, that's the party of the Public Health Minister Anecdotally Shavidakun, could trigger an early House dissolution. Now, this is coming from some political observers who think the election campaign's already on. So this lecturer reporting that 37 MPs are planning to move to Bumjai Thai, and it could signal an early election. This lecturer said, I believe the PM Prayut Chan-o-cha will dissolve the House due to several factors. MPs are now considering which party will give them the best chance of winning in the next election. It's only a matter of time before the PM dissolves the House. Now, there is a lot of jockeying for position in Thai politics. Movement from one party to another is not uncommon, even if in the past the parties have been diametrically opposed with their policies. Whatever will get people elected will often lead the way that people choose which parties they want to align themselves with. According to the sources, some 37 MPs from various parties are expected to switch their allegiance to Bumjai Thai later this week. That would be a mass defection and a big showing of support for Anecdotally Shavidakun, who's been the Public Health Minister not particularly popular with foreigners, but not that that matters, but also being slated as a possible next PM, as this paragraph says, bolstering the party leader Anneton's chances of becoming the next Prime Minister. And down the bottom there, if the House of Representatives is not dissolved before its term ends on March the 23rd, MPs will have until February the 7th to move to another party. So that jockeying for positions already started, and there's new parties being started up, and I think we're leading up to a very interesting election campaign. And for those people that don't like me talking about Thai politics, you can now tune back in. Going to our next story today from Thai PBS World, and weather leading the headlines there. Floods hit Narathiwat province as more rain is forecast for the south. Narathiwat is in the deep south, right on the border of Malaysia and Thailand, not far from where I am actually. So I probably could drive 2 or 3 hours and end up in Narathiwat, another big bus going past there. Let's see what the story says. 7 districts of the southernmost province are flooded as the meteorological department are warning of more rain in the southern provinces. And down in Narathiwat, and 400 households are already affected. The swollen Kolok and Bangnara rivers have overflowed, inundating widespread areas. And in the Songkhla province, there's flooding in 5 districts, but that's eased. But authorities remain vigilant and are closely monitoring rainfall. And according to the meteorological department, the southern provinces of Patalung, Songkhla, Pattani and Narathiwat, Yala, Trang and Satun will face more rain this week. So, well, where I am here in Penang, just across the other side of the border, we've pretty much got blue skies. We had some light rain yesterday, but in Thailand, the southern part of Thailand, they are predicting some more rain. Let's go to our next story today. From The Nation, nearly 4,000 patients with COVID-19 hospitalised in Thailand, 107 deaths reported in a week. So there is a spike of new COVID-19 infections. There are no discussions of any lockdowns or any new restrictions. They're just reporting that there is a surge of new COVID-19 infections in Thailand. The 3,961 patients were hospitalised between the 4th and 10th of December. That's an average of 566 patients per day, and that's an average of 15 deaths a day during that same period. And the Department of Communicable Diseases say that as of December the 10th, 649 patients still being treated for lung infections. 385 of them needed ventilator support, and a pulmonologist in Thailand saying that Thailand should closely monitor new Omicron subvariants that are spreading in India. So COVID-19 still making the news and showing that if you do have chronic diseases, if you are older, and if you're unvaccinated, you probably need to take some additional precautions still at this time. The Straits Times, speaking of COVID-19, reports that China will further relax COVID-19 measures. A Beijing envoy to the US is reported as saying that China will continue to relax its strict COVID-19 measures and will welcome more international travellers in the near future, which probably means that they'll also allow Chinese people to start travelling more regularly again as well. The story goes on to say, in further evidence that controls are loosening, 2 US officials visited China in recent days to help prepare for a visit this coming weeks by the Secretary of State, and that's another one of these important meetings in the region at the moment. I think with this particular meeting of the Secretary of State and the meeting of President Xi and President Biden about a month ago, that the tensions have eased slightly between the US and China at this time. And so the Chinese talking about a dynamic readjustment to its zero COVID policy, and a coordination of COVID response and economic growth is now being looked at. So it looks like a bit of a change to the zero COVID policy in China. and those changes will be welcome, I think, as we see more Chinese starting to travel again, travel back to Thailand. As we move into the first and second quarters of next year, I'm pretty sure that Thai tourism will be welcoming those Chinese tourists back, and everybody else, of course, as well. So I am in Penang. Hopefully you've enjoyed the program. They're starting to turn the music up, which is a bit like my Academy Award playoff. So I hear you. I'm getting out of here, but thank you very much to Gravy Baby for letting me do my program here this morning, and hope the sound's been okay, even though I've only been using the laptop sound. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.